Okay, so we have Martha, we have Dave, we have Kevin, we have Ed Kane, we have Will Sullivan, we'll wait another minute. John Wolf is on. Kane, David, Kevin. And we have, let's see, Doug, are you on?
I am.
Okay. So we have enough for a quorum. Good evening, everyone. It is Wednesday, August 3rd at 7:08. This is a meeting of the Marina Advisory Committee. We'll open up with announcements, open session, and public comment. I have one announcement. I would like to welcome Doug Strauss, our newest member, who's joining us this evening. Welcome, Doug.
Thank you for having me.
And
you don't know me, but I'm happy to help and happy to join.
Well, we're happy to have you.
Thank you.
Are there any other announcements? Okay, hearing none, we will move to the minutes of June 29th. If you would please take a look at those.
Joe, one correction.
Your name.
I was present that day.
Yeah, I just saw that, Kevin. Thank you.
You don't think I pay attention, do you?
I don't know how anyone could miss you, Kevin, but I did.
I try to keep a low profile.
Yes. Okay, do we have a motion? If there
I'll make a motion to accept minutes with that correction.
Okay.
I second it.
Martha and Kevin will second. Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote. Martha?
Aye.
Okay, Ed? Ed Kane? You hear me, Ed?
Yeah, aye.
Okay. David?
Aye.
Okay. Let's see. Joe is aye. Kevin?
Aye.
Okay, all set. One other announcement. Sam Pepper has resigned from the committee. He has sold his home in town and is moving to Orleans. and we wish Sam well. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the.
So
harbor
Joe,
master. Yeah.
Joe, I did have a question then. Where do we stand in terms of members on the committee and vacancies, both full and part-time?
What do you mean by full and part-time?
Well, what I mean by alternate, I meant alternate.
Yeah. Well, Sam's leaving. We have one opening.
Okay.
Okay, harbor master report. Will?
Good evening. The biggest thing I have to report tonight would be the dredging grant, which we received from Housing and Economic Development. That was $2.5 million more for dredging, which was really gracious of Housing and Economic Development and the state. Lieutenant Governor Karen Polito and Undersecretary Ashley Staub was there handing out the grants, and that was a really really great thing for us. It's really going to help. $2.5 million is a lot. We were by far outweighed all of the other awards for that portion of the evening or the day. It was a really gracious thing of them, and we do appreciate it. Otherwise, the harbor's been extremely busy. We've seen a lot more uptick on the weekdays, a little bit less on the weekends. We have, so far, we've counted one full day in the parking lot for about an hour, maybe on a Saturday afternoon. That's the kind of a weird sort of mixture. Like Wednesdays have been extremely busy, very, very busy. Probably due to the weather mostly. It's been very hot, and the wind, as we all know, has been keeping up pretty good. So, but just for example, today, I mean, I think we went out on four boat calls today, including a 40-foot boat that went the wrong way, and just kind of got stuck. Towboat had to come in and pull it out, and just been generally busy with all that kind of stuff. Fuel sales, we've been selling fuel like crazy. Actually, the majority of fuel sales have been, it seems, to our boaters from Sassuat Harbor and Barnstable this year. They've been buying a lot of fuel here, quite a significant amount. Other than that, we've been keeping up, just trying to keep the staff going. We are losing one member of the staff, I think, in another week. So we'll be down one 40-hour-a-week person, which is going to be hard to deal with there. Luckily, that'll be halfway through August. So, we'll just have to accommodate and keep on going.
Who were you losing, Will?
David Dalby's going back to college. So for his senior year. So don't know how college is going to play out for him, but we'll wish him the best of luck with whatever he does. I think he's a marketing major.
Yep.
So wherever he moves on with that, if he does. So I know the Cape's a big draw, especially when you have housing here. So other than that, just keep going. The fuel bids came in. We have sent in a recommendation for them to the select board. I think it should be on the select board the next meeting. I think that's August 9th, I believe. That Dependable Petroleum, I believe, was going to be the winner. I believe that's correct. And that is scheduled to be done in their bid by April. So that'll be a really good thing for us. And a lot of work on that by everyone involved. And just mostly keeping up with summer. It's been a very hot, busy year. Had a lot of launches, ton of launches going on, and a lot of transients. You know, a ton coming in overnights. We've had a lot. This water thing certainly helps. That's for sure. And we've seen a very bigger interest with people not going as much to places like, you know, they're kind of hiding out here and coming to the more low key spots like Wellfleet as opposed to Provincetown, and then they're going up there for the day and stuff. You know, they want to. Most of them say they want to sleep somewhere a little quieter, so that's really working out in our favor.
Well, I got a couple questions for you. Where did that boat go the wrong way today?
Yeah. They were actually, that was a really weird situation. They were under full sail too, which is very, very odd inside of a marina and harbor. Usually those sails don't get lifted till under the breakwater, and they just went straight for Mayo Beach right off the pier, straight through it. It was the most unusual thing. And then after talking to Towboat had to come in with the big twin 300s to yank them off. And they asked, so how do we avoid this? And Towboat was kind of like, what? And he goes, yeah, so we just kind of stay near the buoys. We just kind of stay near the red and green buoys. And he's like, yeah, that's the channel everywhere. And you navigate between them.
Well, so one thing I have noticed, you know, for people that aren't really familiar with the harbor, and I don't know if any of the rest of you have noticed this or not, but you know, like right off the end of the jetty there, the sandbar seems to have come out like and filled in a little bit more. And you know, there's not a marker there. There's the marker's over on the other side, the green one. There's no red marker there. I mean, if somebody wasn't too familiar with the harbor and they came in, they cut that pretty close. So, you know, they could probably go aground on that. Has anybody else noticed that?
Definitely.
Yeah, so those markers that we used to have private aids inside of the federal channel. And this year we were told that when the Coast Guard Auxiliary goes around, that private aids are not allowed inside of federal channels. So we've asked for some clarity on that to keep our private aids there, and they're supposed to be responding back to us with some clarity about keeping the private aids inside of a federal channel.
Okay. And the other question I had is, have you been meeting with anybody in regards to the Oyster Fest?
We have had some information come from the Oyster Fest.
Because it's my understanding the majority of that's going to be at Bakersfield.
That's correct. Yeah.
And I think that's going to put like an extra amount of pressure on, you know, the parking at the marina.
Yep, that will. And it's just about, I think the last weekend we're open, the last day and the day after we close, which will be actually good to have us there, because typically that weekend I always get called out to go rescue somebody. Always the first weekend we're closed, no matter when it is. But yeah, that's going to add some chaos. So we are going to do the charging for parking, I think, and that's kind of where it's leading, because that's going to be a huge townwide event and a very large, hopefully a very large moneymaker for us. Although they've scaled down significantly, and they just don't know what to expect. I know Alfred's talked about it considerably. He's part of it, and nobody kind of knows what to expect from it.
Well, from what I understand, they're going to sell 6,000 tickets, advance sale. Has anyone else heard that? Have you heard that?
That's what I read in the paper.
I heard initially it was 7, then they cut it down to 5.
Okay.
So it's a lot of people.
Yeah, it's a lot of people, and it's a lot of people that are going to, you know, I guess we just have to coordinate things with SPAT.
Yeah, so we will be looking for volunteers that weekend to work the parking lot. Typically, we have a bunch from town, and we'll be asking them to help out again. And
What are we going to end up charging?
we are allowed by our fee schedule to charge $25. I believe that's our parking rate.
Okay.
So we're allowed to charge that, or up to, well, I guess that specifically for the parking. Previous years when we had the full Oyster Fest uptown, we would bring anywhere, $15,000-$18,000 for that weekend. Significant boost to the marina.
Well, I think we probably still will, because I think everybody will try to park there because it's the closest to the event.
They will definitely want to park there. Yeah.
Is it only one day or is it the weekend? Anybody know?
I think it's 2 days.
Yeah, I believe it was supposed to be 2 days. But otherwise, a big day to showcase our marina, and counting on the weather, there'll probably be a lot of boaters coming in too, maybe. But typically the weather is not that great for boating that time of year, and actually we really don't. We tend not to get a lot of transient people, and only some more of the serious people that weekend.
Anything else? Well, somebody mentioned that you were going to go before the select board to propose a fuel increase. Is that correct?
A fuel increase?
Yeah.
With what?
I'm sorry, what?
I don't understand that. A fuel increase of what?
A price increase.
We don't go before the select board for fuel pricing increases. Our policy throughout time has been to set it approximately 90 cents to $1 over what we pay for that fuel.
Yeah, I apologize. What I meant to say was for a boat fee increase, slips and moorings.
Nope, we don't have a plan for that yet. Currently, we're still working on the 3-year pricing plan that we sent in a couple of years ago.
And I think we're on what, the second one, the 5%?
We'll be on the 7% next year.
Next year, yes. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay. I see Matthew Rohig has joined us. Matthew, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, I think how do you pronounce your name?
Rerig.
Rary.
Yeah.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, we're down to Marina concerns.
Can I ask a question just on the dredging? I think Selectman took that up last night. I couldn't
That's
join.
coming up. That's next on the agenda after Marina concerns.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's okay. Marina concerns, anybody?
Yes, I've got a comment. I noticed this year the signal for no wake seemed to have been moved down to the right turn where you go parallel to the pier. It had been out closer, the last few years had been out closer to the breakwater. And I'm wondering what the reason is for that. I mean, I've noticed the area between the breakwater and the pier is a narrow area, and people now come speeding in and don't slow down at all until they get to the dog leg the buoy is. So I'm just having a question about that.
That could be a twofold answer. The majority of the complaints we receive is that it was too far out. We do receive a lot of complaints when it's further out. Actually, receive a lot of complaints when it's further out. But the actual reason for it is, again, we're trying to keep in the good graces of the federal government and keep all the private stuff out of the federal channel.
Keep the private stuff out of the federal channel. I'm
Yes.
not sure how that works.
So the federal government inside of their channel, private aids are not typically welcome in their channels. The government sets the aids for their own channels and the rules. And that was something we just talked about a few minutes ago. That typically the government sets the rules for their channels, and we have asked for some clarity on that, as well as for the extra navigational aids that we had in the federal channel.
I'm going to refer to the minutes of our last August meeting a year ago when there was an extensive discussion on this. I offered to call the New England Army Corps Chief of the Navigation Division on this issue. And the response I got was that the town could put whatever they wanted in there, just send a drawing, a plan to him for approval. That was when Alfred Pickard offered some new additional moorings, and 3 members of the committee volunteered their labor.
I was in a class directly with the U.S. Coast Guard and their navigation team, and that was what we were told by them, who monitors and manages the aids to navigation in all the federal channels. So that's who asked about it, was the ATON and PATON team.
Mm-hmm. David.
Yeah, I just have a comment about this. One of the issues I think that the speed limit in so close is when all of the shell fishermen are on their grants and they're standing already up to their knees to waist in water, and a boat comes in that quickly, it really puts out a wake that causes a problem for these guys. And it's something to consider from a safety standpoint. And I don't know, Will, if you can speak with the Coast Guard or whoever, because I know they're adamant about safety and liability. And I think that's one of those situations where we don't want to see a shell fisherman get hurt, a grant holder get hurt, or create a situation where there could be a problem there. I just wanted to mention that because I see it myself when I watch some of these boats come in, and I look at some of those guys out there, and they're pretty mad. They're not happy. They're out there working hard every day. And when a boat comes flying down there until Can 16 and all of those big wakes come in, it can be an issue. And I just want to make sure that that's a consideration when we go through the thought process of where we want to place that buoy.
Yeah, we can certainly bring that point right up to him.
And maybe even talk to Nancy Savetta, Will, on that, and she might be able to give you some feedback on that as well. I think that's one of those situations where, she might have some good input on it as well.
Certainly.
Can I ask a question? Who controls the big sign at the end of the jetty? Is that also Army Corps or is that town?
That would be the federal ATON team, the Coast Guard.
Yeah, because we've all probably seen big signs put on monuments like that say no wake,
Yeah, you are not allowed to touch that. We can't touch that at all.
There used to be one years ago.
I remember that. Yeah.
I recall that there was a big no wake before they replaced the beacon that's there now. There was a huge in bold letters, probably 10 to 12 inches white block letters that went right across that particular section of concrete that said no wake.
Yep.
Absolutely. I recall that as well.
We can ask them to put that on their light if we want, and around their day markers.
It's not a bad idea, Will. I just think it's a concern a lot of folks might have.
I think in addition to the folks who may be working grants, anybody who's got a boat that's got a modest freeboard is more at risk of, getting hit by a wave and taken on water as well.
So it's also pretty unsafe for Alfred and others who are setting masts and sailboats. Those guys come flying in on those giant wakes, and they've got a guy up in a rig setting the mast, which I've seen years ago happen to Alfred. So.
Outside of the breakwater, there's a little more leeway as to getting out of the way of some of these wakes. But once you get into that channel, one side are the grants, and then it's especially as the tide gets lower. And if you have a small boat, as Ed said, if you have a small boat and there's a big boat coming in, this can be an issue for at least of us with smaller craft.
Well, then you have the kayakers out there too.
Oh.
Any other comments or discussion? Any other issues? Okay, we'll move on the agenda to dredging update. Will?
So we did meet with the select board last night and went over what our lobbyists and congressional delegation have been talking to them about in the mitigation, and we brought that up to the select board, and they've asked us to go back to the Army Corps and with a list of a lot of other properties that we feel are worthy of the mitigation credit. So that's what we're in the works of now to secure this permit. We're going to go back to the Army Corps and present a whole list of other possible mitigation properties.
And they would have to go before a town meeting, a special town meeting for approval. Is that correct, John?
Not if those properties have already been put into conservation.
Uh-huh.
I don't think that would require going. I think that was what came out of last night was that was our best hope of actually getting a permit in time to start this fall.
Okay.
That's my recollection.
We also know that $2.5 million grant is contingent upon securing the dredging permit.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's contingent on securing a dredging contract by June 30th, 2023.
Doug, did you have a question about dredging?
Well, no, my question was just that. So I apologize. I jumped over. I didn't have the agenda out, but I guess and now we could do this offline. Maybe. Are we trying to convey additional conservation land in lieu of the land under the mooring field? Is that the mitigation?
Basically, it's a conversion ratio in a credit system. To put it very, very simply, we are instead of the $14.5 million, we are trying to go for mitigation to use credit for what the actions the town has taken to preserve and protect properties on a credit ratio scale.
Interesting. So does that mean the field won't be dredged this year, maybe next year, based on or is that just the outside date that you said of 23?
That is the final contracting date that we need to go by.
Got it. So it could get done this fall, is what you're saying.
It could be, or it could be done next fall.
Got it. Thank you.
If it's to be completed this fall, Doug, it has to be subject to approval by the Army Corps. And my experience with them is they take several weeks to deliberate over any offer. And if you go back and forth, you're getting close to the October 1st starting time. Okay, the next item is election of a committee vice chair. Do we have any nominations?
I ask Captain Dave if he'd be interested in serving in that role.
Yeah, sure. I would.
Okay.
Well, having confirmed that, I would certainly nominate him.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Any discussion? Okay, we will vote on the nomination.
Do we need a second? Do we need a second on that?
We should have a second.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay. Martha, I'm going to write this down second. Okay. All right. Roll call. Ed?
Aye.
Okay. Martha?
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
And Kevin?
Aye.
Right. And trying to read the screen. Who am I leaving out? Joe? Aye. Anyone else? Okay. Welcome, Captain Dave. The check will be in the mail.
No, I'm waiting for it.
You get a free cigar.
There you go. I like that.
You couldn't afford his cigars, Doug.
Used to be a left-handed coffee cup you got.
No. Well, I'm lefty, so I mean, I need a right-handed one so I could hold that cigar in my left hand.
At the last meeting, there was a discussion about how people wanted to meet in the future. And several people, not everyone, but several people expressed an interest in doing both a hybrid and an in-person meeting at the senior center. So I did some research and had a conversation with the town's tech guy, the video guy, and this is what I learned. We can do the hybrid. However, someone would have to show up at the senior center 45 minutes before 7 to set up tables and chairs, not only for the committee, but also for any audience that appears, and to work with a technician to get the cameras set. And then someone would have to break down the furniture upon leaving. Your thoughts?
I really like these Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
Because I can go to bed right after it.
Yeah, I think the Zoom meetings, have improved our attendance greatly. And if we have all those parameters of extra things that we have to do, it puts a lot of onus on a couple different people. So I think that I don't see that there being a major problem with this. Maybe what we could do is, once at the beginning of the summer, once at the end of the summer or something, all meet in person at some point.
From my perspective, guys, I don't live there year round, so I have to be Zoom, if it's during the week.
No.
That's the downside of my appointment here.
I approve. I recommend it as well for the reasons Martha stated. It's pretty easy, and it encourages people to come on board with us. Any other comments?
I don't have any opposition to the hybrid, but I do like sustaining this virtual option because I think it actually enhances community participation because they can dial in, there's no fuss, there's no muss, and they could probably multitask until it's time for them to have an opportunity to speak, as opposed to having to make the investment to go to a meeting and sit there until such time as they have that opportunity. So as I said, I'm not opposed to hybrid, but I do hope that we'll sustain at least this virtual option as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Does the group ever meet at the marina and just walk around with Will and, you know, do that kind of thing? Or is, I'm not sure I quite know the whole role here, so bear with me if you don't mind, but, you know, do a marina walk, you know, see what's hot, what's not, and, you know, with Will and his staff.
You know, that's a great idea. And maybe that's something that we could do, you know, like at the beginning of the season each year.
Uh-huh. Okay.
You know, and that way we could physically see, you know, any improvements that have been done over the winter. And we could also physically see, you know, what the operation would be for the summer, you know, and anything that we might be able to assist with.
Well, not too long ago, we were all going to meet and do a parking discussion.
Yep.
And that sort of.
Well, I guess from what Will says, parking doesn't seem to be a real problem right now. Is that correct, Will?
Yeah, this year we've only been full once. I mean, we're coming into August, so I would assume it would be full this weekend on Saturday or something. But so far, it's only been once this year. Like I said, it's been a different type of year. You know, we're hearing it with a lot of the other businesses in town too, but it's definitely more spread out. Like I said, you know, Wednesdays have been jamming, you know, and days like that, as opposed to, like, you know, the other Saturday morning, I think, you know, we got like 1 million projects done because it was dead. And then it picked up in the afternoon significantly, but it's just been odd. Usually you get all those like 1 million launches in the morning, and, you know, so it's been a different atmosphere this year, but I think everyone's kind of experiencing a little bit of a different animal this year.
John,
go ahead.
John, is parking going to be discussed in the future? Do you have any idea with the select board?
Yes, I've been on a number of occasions making people aware that we really can't keep kicking that can down the road. You know, we've had a parking task force that was active for 2 years, and nothing ever really seemed to have come of it. They had a list of recommendations. They had a report, some of which I think bears some tweaking. But in any case, it needs to be. We need to tackle it. It's just one of those things that it's been avoided for way too long.
So my suggestion would be that we should take a walk around and look at what we got when people are actually here.
I mean, I personally look at Provincetown and see how they've handled it with, you know, the kiosks and the automation and so forth. And it's, yeah, it might involve, you know, 1 or 2 persons detailed to monitor it, either from the police department or the or maybe vote for an increase in the harbor master staff to handle that, or, you know, this is part of the discussion that needs to happen as to, you know, the mechanics of it. But it doesn't seem that it should be insurmountable.
Is the goal to start charging? Or I may not understand the issue.
Yes. Yes. At least I personally feel that there's a high cost to free parking, and I think the Marina Enterprise Fund could benefit greatly from this. And, you know, there's certainly ways to make provision for charter operators and, you know, slip holders and so forth. You know, that again, I don't think is rocket science, figuring out how to work that in.
Doug, I served on the parking task force 2 years ago. There was a lot of time and a lot of work put into it. There's a wealth of information. It's available on the town website. Just a quick review. Our parking situation in our town is totally unique from other towns in that our marina has been serving for many years as a municipal parking lot. And there are strong opinions in town about that. Should it remain that, along with the Marina? Should one be favored over the other? A few months back, this committee agreed upon a plan where most of the parking would be dedicated to boaters. The idea being when the mooring field is dredged, there'll be 350 boaters there, along with the slip holders, you know, close to 500. But take a look at that, because a survey went out with the lease to every boater and came back, and there's some good data there. I think the conclusion of the task force is that there are very strong opinions on both sides regarding that, and that ultimately the select board is going to have to establish priorities and make a decision.
Exactly.
I wasn't aware that was really out there as an issue. I knew it was an issue, but obviously I'm sure that all the restaurants and whatever are super concerned, right? The ice cream Max and.
Well, they were, when we took testimony, they were all quite vocal.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Okay, any new business or future concerns? Anybody have anything? Okay. Looking at the calendar, 4 weeks would be August 31st. How does that set with people? Any problems?
Yeah, looks all right with me.
Yeah.
I'm free.
Okay. Nobody going to be in Aruba?
Fortunately not.
Okay. Why don't we plan on the 31st? Under Marina concerns, I want to read to you a email from town government that I am supposed to share with you. All of the board and committee chairs have been directed to share with members, and I'll quickly read it. It says, as at the August 2nd select board meeting, the board discussed committee liaisons. There's always been a select board member assigned committee in the past as a liaison. There are some board members that would like to be considered as a liaison. I am sending you this letter on this behalf to ask you if your committee would like a select board liaison, and in what capacity you would like that liaison to work with you. This is not a requirement for your committee, just a suggestion and a way to have a select board member who you can have as a contact person who will attend meetings and listen to your progress and answer any questions you may have. They will not weigh in on your deliberations, just a person to listen to all the work that your group is accomplishing. Please reach out to me with the thoughts, concerns, and opinions of you and your committee. Rebecca Eldridge. Your thoughts?
I think that's a really great idea. And I think right now, you know, it's beneficial for us. We have John, who's been on our board, and he knows exactly what's, you know, happening. And I think he would be a good liaison right now.
Uh-huh.
I agree.
I endorse what Martha said.
Me too.
Ed, okay. Anyone else want to voice their opinion? Okay. I think we should put it in the form of a motion. Martha or Ed, would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that, you know, we are in favor of having a liaison, and for the next year, we'd like to, you know, suggest that John will be our liaison.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
second.
Okay, Dave seconds. All right, discussion.
One of the things I want to make sure that when discussions are had about issues such as parking and whatever, that the follow through with what intel the select liaison gets delivers that information to the selectmen in a way that it doesn't get lost. We had some situations in the past. I had a thing on Facebook that I put out with regards to something that happened on the pier. And there was a lot of misunderstanding about what would happen. But one of the members of the selectmen decided that they were going to become vocal about this particular issue and was questioning what the Marina Advisory Committee has done about parking on the pier. And it's real tough to get into a debate on social media about that kind of thing. But I did the best I could and explained to him that the only explanation I have is that you're charged to follow through after we, as advisory members only, bring this information to the harbor master. And, you know, whether it was or it wasn't, it became kind of disjointed on that particular string of social media posts. And I just want the liaison to understand that when we put effort, like we did last year, into trying to put parking as a priority, we need to have a follow through with it and an assurance that what we do and what our efforts are don't just, you know, get pushed aside or don't get, you know, left out to say, well, it's, you know, it didn't happen. We went through a lot of effort last winter. I spent hours measuring spaces. You know, I took time out of on a cold, frigid February days with my wife holding one end of a tape measure, getting measurements and spots counted. We brought that all up at a meeting, and it went nowhere. And we were supposed to have a face-to-face to get together and walk through all of what we were talking about. It never happened. If the liaison is in place, I would expect moving forward that they assure that those kind of connections are brought to the correct, to the proper levels to make it something that we need to, you know, have reviewed after we've worked as hard as we were to do it. We all did. Every one of us on this committee did it. And I just feel as though it was a wasted effort at this point.
A couple of comments. I'm going to quote from our committee's charge. The committee is to study and make recommendations to the harbor master and the Board of Selectmen relative to marina operations, the establishment and enforcement of policies and procedures, future planning, and as a committee, examine complaints made by any vessel owner or other user of the marina and referring any recommendations regarding such to the harbor master. The second one is when we did all the work that Dave is talking about, we took my original drawing where I had charted all 311 spaces down there and their location. And we worked from that as a base. And we tossed around many ideas, as Dave said, and we came to one conclusion diagram, which we voted on. And that is still available. And when we're ready to talk again, you know, I'm happy to circulate it to everybody. but that's just a reminder that we have that on file. That was the conclusion of our work. And John, whenever you're ready, we're happy to give you 50 copies of it.
Well, yeah, if I am made liaison and any such materials that are given to me, I'll see to it that it gets before the board.
Mm-hmm.
I'll include it, you know, in the packet.
That particular selectman that went back and forth with me on the social media said that he had never seen any documentation at all from what we proposed at that meeting that we voted on.
We didn't take the next step to schedule a hearing before the select board. That was where it was left off, okay? So I think one idea might be, if you want, at the next meeting, we'll review that again, see if we still want to go forward with that. John, I wouldn't favor just sending in the diagram. I think we need to be there to present why we're recommending what we're recommending.
I agree. That would definitely be a better step.
Yeah, I'm sure that others will show up and want to be heard.
I'm just saying that any materials you present to me and ask me to bring to the board, I will bring to the board, and anything verbally that occurs at a meeting that you wish for me to convey, I will type it up and see to it that it gets where it needs to get.
Okay.
I think I can handle that.
Yeah. Okay. As a committee, do we want to do it soon, or do we want to wait in the fall as the season is ending? What would you like to do?
I'd like to say that we should wait for a number of reasons. Will's got a lot on his plate right now. There's no question. He's looking at the Oyster Festival. There's a lot of stuff going on. This is a big, busy month. The next couple of weeks are busy. I wouldn't expect that we should burden anyone right now with this issue. It was in the winter when we discussed it. I think we can revisit it when the season calms down, and try and get the right channels and make our efforts put in the right direction so that everybody understands where, what we recommend and what we see, and hopefully things can, go in a positive direction from there. That's my opinion. I just don't think right now is a good time.
Yeah, I endorse that. When things calm down, early winter time is a good time. It would give us time to review our plan and set it up. And I'm sure they're going to want to have a hearing on it. Any other comments on that?
I've got one for you, Joe.
Yes, Ed.
It sounded to me like there was a clear consensus on the part of the committee that John would be a terrific liaison. I just want to ask John to confirm that he's disposed to be our liaison.
Yeah, I think I can, I do have to be mindful of, how much I take on. I'm already the liaison to the dredging task force, but these meetings are not that frequent, and I think it's a responsibility I can handle.
Okay.
I'm certainly do.
All right. We just write this down here. Okay. I note that Robert Cosavera is on. Robert, are you on?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have any comments under Marina concerns or any other category?
No, not at this point. I'm just listening in.
Okay.
The only, one concern I have is, why isn't there a red buoy out by the jetty? I don't know. There's always one there. I thought I made a comment previously that I didn't think it was in the correct location. Now there's none there at all, which is even worse. But it doesn't affect me so much. I'm used to it. I know the channel, you know, after all these years, but it definitely have to affect people that aren't familiar with the channel.
Will, you want to respond?
Yeah. This is kind of revisiting it for the third time. The federal navigation team from the Coast Guard has made statements that we are not allowed to put pitons in an ATON channel. And we have asked for clarification from them on that.
Who's responsible for that buoy? The Coast Guard or the town?
That buoy would be a piton, and pitons are not allowed in federal channels. So we are asking them to clearly define if we can or cannot put back our pitons in with the ATONs in the federal channel.
I don't know. I'm still not clear on what you just said. Can we get a buoy there or can't we get a buoy there? What's the bottom line?
Again, we are asking the U.S. Coast Guard navigation team, one who go around and checks all our ATONs and pitons, the aids to navigation and the private aids to navigation.
There's been a buoy there for 50 years. I don't understand. I mean, you guys are in charge of putting the buoy there with the Coast Guard. So why doesn't somebody contact the Coast Guard or whoever's supposed to put the buoy there and let's just get it done and over with?
Again, that is the federal navigation team, and we have contacted them on whether we are allowed, again, to put back the private aids to navigation inside of the federal channel. They do go around and inspect those things. And in the last grouping from them, clear that no pitons were allowed inside of a federal channel. So we have asked them to clarify that if we could put back our private aids to navigation in the federal channel.
Okay.
Does anybody have anything else? Okay, no business or future concerns. I think we finalized August 31st. Do we have a motion at 8:04 to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Martha?
Second.
Dave will second. Okay. Roll call. Martha?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Okay, Joe, aye. And I think we have covered everything. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Good night,
Good night.
guys.
Nice seeing all of you. I'll look for you on the docks.